In our modern world, it's hard to believe that there are still people who go hungry. With the way our world is set up, it seems like food would be equally accessible to everyone. But unfortunately, this isn't the case. While some people have an abundance of food, others don't know where their next meal will come from. And most of the time, this has everything to do with water. If there isn't enough water to grow crops, people can't grow food, and they end up starving. And while you may think that the government would step in and help these people, more often than not, they just get ignored. For decades, one boy had to deal with this reality. He grew up without food or water, and he watched as his family suffered because of it. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. With a little ingenuity and creativity, he invented something that would save millions of people. But even though he was a self-educated man, he was never given credit for his work. That was until recently when someone finally acknowledged what he had done. They gave him an award for his invention and the title of Hero of the Year, but it was well overdue. It all started when William Kamkwamba was just a young boy living in Malawi. He grew up in a small village with his parents and 4 siblings. While he lived in a small house made out of mud and thatch, life was still good. His father was a well-respected chief in the community, and everyone looked up to him. William's mother worked as a tailor, but she also had to take on the role of a farmer. Every day she planted crops and took care of their animals, which provided them with food and made them a little money. But shortly after William turned 8 years old, things changed dramatically. The rain stopped. Their crops began to dry up, and their animals slowly lost weight. Soon they were left with nothing, and their neighbors and friends weren't much better off. It seemed as if the rain would never come back, and many of the families in the area began to starve. William knew he had to do something to help his family, so he dropped out of school and began working in the fields. But no matter how much work he put in, their situation didn't improve. In fact, it only got worse. At one point, his mother had to sell their last cow just to put food on the table. They were so desperate that they began eating grasshoppers, which aren't very nutritious and often have a bitter taste. As the months went on, their stomachs began to shrink, and they could barely walk. One night, William woke up and realized that his sister wasn't in bed. Found her outside in the grass, and she told him that she was going to sleep there for the rest of her life. She said she couldn't take being hungry anymore. William felt sick to his stomach after hearing this. He didn't want his sister to suffer anymore. So he went to the market and bought some corn, which he then ground up and mixed with water. He brought the corn mixture to his sister and spoon-fed her every day. Slowly but surely, she began to get better and her health improved. While this was great news, William still had to figure out a way to get food for the rest of his family. Since he was just a young boy, he didn't know what to do. So he went to the library and began reading books about agriculture. He read every book in the library about farming and learned everything he could. He spent so much time at the library that the librarian began to call him the bookworm. After reading all the books, William remembered one fact. He remembered that cotton farmers used irrigation to water their crops. This meant that they could grow crops during the dry season, which would give them a steady flow of income. William thought to himself that maybe he could do something similar, so he built a windmill out of mud and a metal sheet. He attached pipes to the windmill, which led to the crops in the field. He worked hard on his invention for 2 years, trying different things to make it work. Finally, he finished the device, and it worked exactly as he wanted it to. It pumped water from the river to his crops and made them grow. At first, William watered just a small portion of his family's field. He wanted to make sure that the contraption worked properly before he expanded it to the entire farm. But after seeing the results, his family allowed him to use it across the farm. By the time William was 14 years old, he had stopped his family from starving to death, single-handedly ended the famine by creating a reliable source of water. But sadly, he didn't get any recognition for it. You'd think that the local government would be proud of him, but they didn't care. They actually believed that the drought was caused by witchcraft, so instead of congratulating William, they punished him. They arrested William and accused him of causing the drought. He was sentenced to 3 months in jail and eventually banished from his village. When he was released from prison, he traveled to another part of Malawi, where he started over. He married a woman named Agnes, and together they had 6 children. William continued to invent ways to bring water to crops, and he helped other farmers in the area. Eventually, he became known as the boy who ended the drought. Since then, he's done a lot of good for his community. But the funny thing is that no one knows how he did it. He was essentially forgotten, but thankfully someone finally noticed his work and wanted to acknowledge it. Someone reached out to William and asked him to share his story. Not only did they invite him to speak at the event, but they also gave him an honorary doctorate, right? It was the perfect way to thank William for inventing a new type of irrigation that saved countless lives. Today, people from all around the world know about William's story. He's spoken at TEDx and received multiple awards for his work. But despite all of this, he remains humble. He's been called the hero of the year, and rightfully so. He risked everything to help his family and ended up saving an entire nation. Without William, thousands of people would have died. And all he asks for in return is to continue helping his community and inspiring others to follow their dreams. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What did you think of William's story? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out more content. We've got lots of videos about amazing inventors and their inventions. We also encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any of our awesome content. Thanks for watching.